Hey gang, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brit, and on this channel I talk about all things building a business and building a family at the same time. So I'm sure if you're here tuning in, you are a high achieving boss babe who's trying to kill it in her career and also build the family of your dreams. So I'm so glad that you're here. I hope that we continue to get to know each other better. Please, if you like this video, click the like button, give me a thumbs up, and subscribe to get more of my content. I make one video every week, and I'm always open to topic suggestions, so please send those to me. But today I wanted to talk about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, and the thing that I love about YouTube is that I feel like it's a safe space to be very vulnerable, and the community here is just so positive and uplifting, and I never feel judged, and I feel like I can really put my guard down and share a lot of life experiences that I usually wouldn't be comfortable sharing, especially my infertility journey. And today I want to talk about my self-care journey, and specifically a health scare that I had a few years ago that really changed my perspective on self-care and what that really meant and how important it was, for me to prioritize just rest and my mindset and taking care of myself. As a high achieving person, all of you boss babes can probably resonate. Self-care was something that I kind of thought was just like a popular buzzword because it's like the hot thing to talk about right now, like hashtag self-care with your glass of wine or binge watching Netflix. I don't know, whatever people consider self-care to be. So when this buzzword was kind of thrown around to me, it just didn't mean much to me. But one thing that I do know is a very real sensation and a very real experience is stress. Because stress is so real when you're running your own business. So those of you who are either leading an organization or trying to start your own business or you're side hustling, corporate queen, whatever you are, you know that stress is real. Even if you're just, a new mom, whatever the case may be. But stress technically is defined as our body's response to challenges and changes. And so it's a natural thing that happens in our bodies, right? Short-term stress is actually very good for us. It makes us more alert. It heightens like our blood pressure, our adrenaline, our sense of, survival. And so short-term stress is actually really good for us. It allows us to survive and perform on a dime. But long-term stress is actually very toxic. It's damaging to our health, and it is not of God. That's not what God wants for us. Long-term stress leads to fear, anxiety, insecurity, and dealing with continued stress over a long period of time is not good for us. So self-care is really important in the context of the fact that self-care is a practice of protecting your happiness and your well-being, particularly during times of stress. So ultimately, self-care is a stress management tool. And I never really knew that until I had to learn the hard way. So I've kind of vaguely talked on this channel about when I had Ramsay Hunt Syndrome, but I don't know if I've given y'all the whole backstory about how I got it. And it's essentially a facial paralysis, right? So when I was a baby entrepreneur, about 3 years into running my own business, I was like working my tail off. I'm still working my tail off, but it just affected my body a different way back then than it does now. My mom's texting me. I should have put my phone on Do Not Disturb. But back then, I really prided myself on my ability to endure. My company is called Grit. Grit is like about go, 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 right? So I was about to open my third fitness studio, was really proud of that accomplishment. Had very much felt called that like, this is what I was supposed to be doing to empower more women, to, spread the Grit message of body positivity and community and belonging to as many women as possible. And we got a great opportunity to sign a lease in a different market and open a new studio. But with that came this weight of pressure of me having to hire like 20 people in a few months, had to do the whole studio, finish out with the contractors, had to run the other 2 studios and make sure those were profitable. I had to build out a management team because I was no longer gonna be able to do it by myself anymore. And I just had the most intense imposter syndrome Because when I started my company, it wasn't like, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I felt called to it. I really do feel like my business, Grit Fitness, was like a ministry that God called me to. I tried to fight it. I was making good money in consulting at a Big Four firm, but I feel like God really called me to it. And then I also felt like I was called to open this third studio, and I had this conviction to help all these other women. So I felt like I was, doing the right thing by answering the call, but then I got in this situation and I'm like, I don't know how to do this. Number one, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do it. And then number two, I don't know if I'm the right person. Who am I to take on such a big role? And, I didn't really spend much time like in prayer or, with a mentor or counseling, anything like that. I just did what I know how to do, and that's just worked harder. I just worked harder. I would stay up all night. I would business plan. I would budget. I would do everything I could do to make this thing work. And I was working really hard, and the stress that I was feeling was making me work very, very, very hard. So, is the stress good or bad? Depends on who you ask. But there was a very distinct point during that time, right before my fitness studio opened, about a month before it opened, that I started to get this horrible pain in my ear. And I was like, I'm 34 years old. Why do I have an earache? This is so weird. But it just started hurting so bad, and I felt so tired, and I just felt like my body was like shutting down. It was so weird. And then one day I got up to go teach a spin class, and I put my microphone on and looked myself in the mirror, and like this side of my face like wasn't moving. And a normal rational person would say, okay, something's wrong. You might need to go get that checked out. But I was just so in go, go, go mode. I just like kept working. I finished teaching class that day. I taught another class that night. I actually taught like 13 classes that week. I remember we had a roof leak. I was changing ceiling tiles. I was just like, go, 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 until finally I got to a point where like my body actually shut down. Like I was so fatigued. Like I couldn't even like think. My ears swelled up. It was so big and swollen that I was like, okay, I'm just going to drive myself to the emergency room. So I drove myself to the emergency room. They pumped me full of IVs. They started doing CT scans. Like no one knew what was wrong with me. And finally they came back and they were like, my face was totally paralyzed at that point. Actually, I have a picture. I'll show you a picture. This is what my face looked like. This side did not move at all. Like I could only move this side of my face. And it stayed like that for 4 months. 4 months. 4 months, okay? So it stayed like that for 4 months. And, the doctors told me that I had something that was called Ramsay Hunt Syndrome. And what it is a shingles outbreak in your ear. It paralyzes your cranial nerve. And there's so much inflammation from the shingles that, it paralyzes that nerve, and your face just has no function. I could not blink my eye. I could not say the letter B. Still to this day, I don't have the full range of motion in this side of my face because of all the damage that was done in that time period. And, I asked him, I said, well, how did I get this and how do I fix it? And he said, you got it because you're too stressed, and you'll fix it by reducing your stress. And when he said that to me, I just felt so defeated because I'm like, here I am, this young entrepreneur trying to open these 3 fitness studios with all these people counting on me. How in the, excuse my French, hell am I supposed to reduce my stress? I can't change these circumstances. These bills are due. These people are counting on me. I've already signed a lease. How am I supposed to reduce my stress? And I really felt like, that period in my life when the doctor said, you won't get well until you reduce your stress, God was really telling me, you will not be the leader and the CEO, the mom, whoever that I've called you to be until you trust in me, until you really trust me. And so what turned out, what started as just a huge physical illness really began a very transformational journey. I started going to therapy. I developed a self-care practice that I'll share with you guys today. I started to be more vulnerable and share with people what I was going through. I spent a lot more time alone, and I spent a lot more time being mindful, really bringing attention to my mindset. So this verse really hit home from Romans. Paul said when he was speaking, Romans 8:6, the mind governed by the flesh is death, but the mind governed by the spirit is life and peace. And for someone who works out every single day and eats relatively healthy and drinks a lot of water, I thought that I had my physical health under control. But when I actually saw in that moment that my mindset and the anxiety, the insecurity, the fear that I was thinking had the power to manifest in my body and take away my health, that was a wake-up call for me. That was really a wake-up call for me. That was like, okay, this self-care thing, this mindset, positivity mindset stuff, this stuff is real because I can't blink my eye, you know? So I just want to share with you all some of the things I learned through that journey and through my recovery process, because I think it's really helpful for high achieving people who know how to go, but sometimes we don't know how to pause, reset. How's my mindset? Am I taking care of myself? So I put together this kind of framework of how I like to create a self-care practice. And it is just that. It's a practice. You don't just wake up one day and have this peaceful mindset that can just handle stress. Because the reality is, changes, challenges, those things are never going away. Therefore, stress is never going away. We can't control stress. What we can control is our mindset and therefore our body's response to stress. And I know that by creating this self-care practice and following it for the past 2 to 3 years, that I can handle stress better and that I'm a better leader. Because when COVID-19 hit last year, that was stressful. Arguably more stressful than opening my 3rd fitness studio. I had to figure out how to pivot my whole business to virtual, keep the team engaged, keep myself sane in like a week. And I truly believe that if I hadn't implemented this self-care practice 2 years in advance, the stress and the weight of that situation would have broken me. I mean, it would have just torn me down. I just wouldn't have had the mental toughness and the peace in my spirit and the assurance of God that, you know, I could make it through. And so, if you want to create a self-care practice, I want to give you 5 points that I think are good parameters to define certain activities that would constitute a self-care activity, okay? So number 1, the activity that you choose as your self-care practice needs to be something that you do alone. Why? Because we as people are natural accommodators, and whenever we're around other people, we can naturally give up what's best for us in order to make peace or be liked or do what's good for the rest, you know, of the other people around. And it's also important for us to be able to sit alone with our thoughts. So self-care practice needs to be done alone. It needs to be something that that you enjoy, you actually look forward to, right? So if you hate running, your self-care practice is not going to be running. If you like walking, it can be walking. If you like dancing, it can be dancing. If you like meditating, it can be meditating. I do not enjoy meditation. I try to meditate. I do everything I can to meditate. As much as I want to be a meditator, I'm not a meditator. And I've finally come to the point that meditation is not for me, and I am okay with it, all right? But it needs to be something that you enjoy. So my self-care practice does not include meditation. I tried to do it. I still try every now and then, but I think I'm just going to have to let that go, okay? Number three, it needs to be healthy for your body. Yes, I very much enjoy drinking tons of wine and binge watching Netflix for excessive amounts of hours, but that's not really helpful for me. It's not good for my body to sit still for 3 to 4 hours at a time. It's not good for me to have excessive amounts of alcohol or junk food or anything like that. So you want to make sure that it's also a practice that's healthy for your body, all right? Number 4, most importantly, it needs to bring your attention to the present moment, all right? Depression comes from remorse over the past. Anxiety comes from fear for the future, but true joy really comes when we are focused in the present moment. The way I like to bring my attention to the present is through gratitude. What am I thankful for right now? I'm thankful for this lime green Lorna Jane jacket that I got 10 years ago that is so out of style, but I love it because it has thumb holes and I love neon green. I don't know. But bringing your attention to the present moment, all right, it just causes an immediate mindset shift. And last but not least, it keeps you hopeful about the future. Hope for the future is so important, all right? Because you cannot have grit without hope. You can't have a can-do attitude and the tenacity and the energy to work your tail off right now if you don't really believe that it's going to be a payoff, all right? You can't have grit without hope. So those are the 5 parameters that would constitute an activity to be qualified as self-care. There's so many things that you can choose from to be a part of your daily or weekly routine to be self-care, your personal self-care. And what works for you is going to be different than what works for your neighbor, okay? Maybe it's journaling, maybe it's coloring in a coloring book, maybe it's going for a walk, maybe it's going to acupuncture, maybe it's meditation. But it needs to be something that you commit to as a practice that allows you just to relax, enjoy the present moment, bring your attention to the present, stay hopeful about the future, and just renew your mind, because your mind does need that renewal. My self-care practice is a morning routine that I created, and I have another video that you guys can watch that outlines my morning routine. But it's simple for me. It's something that I enjoy. I do it every day with ease. It doesn't take a lot of time, and it just helps me renew my mind. And I know it works because I got through last year, COVID-19, with a small business that's gyms. I mean, I can't believe it. I know it was through the grace of God, and it was through, the word of God really renewing my mind, and, spending time each morning, reading my devotionals, and, doing something mindful, and spending time alone with my thoughts, and knowing that my best days are ahead of me, that they're not behind me, and that I know the plans that God has for me to give me hope in a future and to prosper me and not to harm me. And I had to just repeat and say these things over myself every day so that when I feel these crazy fears and anxieties, I have something to say over it to battle it back. Because if I don't have anything to say over it to battle it back, I can just go into this spiral and it just overtakes me. And it can start to make me sick. I've learned that, from the past. So I hope that this is helpful for you. I hope that you will create a self-care practice for yourself. If you do something that you find is very helpful, please post below in the comments and share with the rest of our community. And I'm always looking for new ways to practice self-care. Today I got a mani-pedi. That's a very much a form of self-care that I love. I do it alone. It's good for me, and I enjoy the present moment. I enjoy, the massage and everything, and I really enjoy it. So I would love to hear what you guys think. I hope that this is helpful for you, and I hope that, I find some purpose through my pain of going through Ramsay Hunt Syndrome. And I hope that me sharing this story with you just gives you some encouragement. If you happen to be going through a tough time or battling with stress or anxiety, you're not alone. But you also have the power to not let it get the best of you, because you have control of your mind, and your mindset is the most powerful thing that you have. And keeping it strong, keeping it in a space that's positive, that's hopeful, is really powerful. So I'll see y'all on the next video. I love you so much, and y'all take care.